Democrats don't care what Americans think because Americans don't hold Democrats accountable. A new Pew Research Center survey found that at least half of Americans say they disapprove of affirmative action, aka reverse discrimination, whereby colleges and universities weigh admissions on the race and ethnic backgrounds of prospective students. But people's opinions don't faze today's Democrat Party, which champions the practice. They have steadfastly determined to do the wrong thing, secure in the knowledge that they will never be held accountable. They have repeatedly been proven correct in that assessment. Prior to the 2022 election, a pre-midterm poll by Schuon-Cooperman Research found that the Democrats were perceived by voters as being ineffective, out of touch, and too left-wing. Now, the logical conclusion was that as a result, they would suffer significant losses in the midterm elections. Well, that didn't happen. You see, most Americans are not fond of open borders, CRT and the 1619 Project being taught in our schools, the sexualization of our young children in schools and by radical trans types, the defunding of police, cancel culture, reparations, and unfettered abortion until the moment of birth, or slightly after. Truth be told, a majority of Americans or voters disapprove of almost all of the Democrats' policy positions and purported beliefs, but apparently keep voting them into office anyways. Are they incompetent, insane, masochistic, a combination of all three, or is something much darker and more nefarious occurring? Has the party of slavery's malfeasance and widespread cheating been that effective? In any case, there is indisputably both a method to the Democrats' madness and a madness to the Democrats' method. Simple logic and reason and a firm grasp of actual history should make debunking Democrats' arguments easy and irrefutable. Yet this almost never happens, even by prominent Republicans. Now, why is that? While I never underestimate Republicans' ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, this one still baffles me. And now, of course, many rhinos are saying that it's time to take back the party from Trump. Folks, this is exactly the wrong idea, exactly the wrong lesson to be learned here. Donald Trump took the GOP from the cocktail party-loving multinational corporation abetting a you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back entity and made it the party of real Americans from the heartland or flyover country, folks who do real work, understand the importance of the Declaration and the Constitution, and who respect the rule of law. The Democrat academia media corporate complex lies to you, misleads you, disdains you, threatens you, and wishes to lock you down permanently, physically, intellectually, and spiritually. And lastly, I'll finish off with this. In the most basic sense of the term, affirmative action is badly needed. Affirmative action to drain the swamp, for example. Affirmative action to cleanse the Republican Party of those who are fine with the status quo, corruption, and insanely bloated government, even if they occasionally call for a small tax cut or throw shade at a squad member. Democrats don't care what Americans think because Americans don't hold Democrats accountable. Murder, street crime, white-collar crime, shoplifting, trespassing, abuse of power, illegal drugs, legal drugs, illegal immigration and open borders, election tampering, institutional decay, homelessness, illiteracy, phony racism, real racism, corrupt politicians, vengeful district attorneys, child abuse, domestic partner abuse, disregard for human life, a weakened military, the rise of authoritarianism, expanded ignorance, AI, CRT, DIE, poverty, inflation, radical environmentalism, gender fluidity, lowered standards, and weakened values, flight from personal responsibility, death of the meritocracy. The list goes on, and it gets bigger by the day. So yeah, MAGA in 2024, or we will sentence ourselves and our descendants to permanent servitude. No one else can be trusted to take this task on. Period.
Let's say you wanted to control a country. How would you start? Well, you'd want to make sure you had the complete obedience of everybody inside your borders who was authorized to use deadly force. You would start with the military, and then federal law enforcement, then move your way down ultimately to agencies like the IRS. Controlling the guns would be a top priority for you if you ever wanted to go dictatorial, if you wanted to be baby doc. But let's say you had deeper ambitions. Let's say you wanted the power not simply to control people's behavior, but to control how they think, not just their bodies, but their minds, as a god would. In that case, you need to take charge of the society's taboos. A taboo is something that by popular consensus is not allowed. A taboo may not be illegal, but it doesn't need to be. Over time, social prohibitions are more powerful and more enduring than laws. Societies are defined by what they will not permit, as are famously religions. Muslims don't eat pork, neither do Orthodox Jews. Traditional Christians oppose extramarital sex. The Amish avoid electricity, and so on. American society isn't overtly religious, but it's governed by taboos, and it always has been. What's interesting is how fast our taboos are changing. This is not happening organically. What we're allowed to dislike is being dictated to us from above, sometimes by force. Until fairly recently, for example, it was taboo in this country to attack people on the basis of their race. That was the main lesson of the Second World War, we were told, again and again. The one thing we learned from the Nazis is that it's dangerous to reduce human beings to their genetic code. There is no master race. That made sense, but apparently we no longer believe it. Punishing people based on their skin color is not only permitted in modern America, it is mandatory throughout business and government and higher education, as long as the victims are white. At one time, that would have been unimaginable. So with the current behavior of our politicians. As recently as the 1992 presidential campaign, adultery was considered disqualifying for anyone seeking higher office. Bill Clinton was very nearly derailed in the New Hampshire primary by his affair with Jennifer Flowers. Clinton went to elaborate lengths to lie about the relationship because he had no choice. But he was the last presidential candidate who had to meet this standard. By 2008, it was obvious to anybody who was paying attention that Barack Obama had a strange and highly creepy personal life. Yet nobody ever asked him about it. By that point, a leader's behavior within his own marriage, the core relationship of his life, had been declared irrelevant. It was Barack Obama's business, not yours. One by one, with increasing speed, our old taboos have been struck down. Those that remain have lost their moral force. Stealing, flaunting your wealth, striking women, smoking marijuana on the street, shameless public hypocrisy, taking other people's money for not working. All of these things used to be considered unacceptable in America, not anymore.
Most of this came by way of the American Thinker. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below. There's a PayPal link in the description box, so please put $1 in the bucket on the way out the door. I'd like to thank everyone for all your donations. They're much needed and much appreciated. Now, with all that being said, we'll see you next time.
Come on, move. Move. Easy, easy.